You're listening to MinerTalk on demand exclusively on 600 ESPN El Paso. Stay up to date with MinerTalk by downloading the free 600 ESPN El Paso mobile app. All right, we are live. MinerTalk is here, presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency. For your home, your auto, your commercial, business insurance needs, or your life insurance needs, trust the experts at the Oscar Arieta Agency. Oscar Arieta is the official insurance agent of the UTEP Miners. Hey, I got a chance to talk to Oscar right before the holidays. Doing great. They had an annual toy drive that they were actually hosting at the Oscar Arieta Agency. So big shout out to them and everything they do. And of course, the Oscar Arieta Agency is the hometown hero presenting sponsor for every UTEP basketball game. Hey, tonight the UTEP Miners do it. They defeat Wyoming to win the first West Star Don Haskins Sun Bowl Invitational trophy under head coach Joe Golding. It was win number 200 for him. Tay Hardy surpassed 1,000 career points tonight. And the Miners get a big victory against Wyoming. Let's talk about it. If you want to do it, 915-505-6009. Give us your reaction. And want everybody to know that if you're traveling east, this is very important. If you're traveling east right now, there's a accident on the freeway, so try to avoid it at your best discretion. Maybe take the loop instead. But I just want to let everybody know, if you're driving away from the UTEP basketball matchup, maybe take an alternate route other than I-10. I was hearing earlier tonight that there were some complications, some troubles going east. So or just map it out. Google Maps usually kind of keeps you up to date on things like that. So nonetheless, just want to keep our listeners out there aware. Again, our telephone number to get things started, 915-505-6009. Zid Powell led the way, 32 points. Tay Hardy had 14 for the Miners. But one of the guys I want to start off with on the show, giving him some props here tonight, is Otis Frazier III. Okay, Otis Frazier was able to help swing this game in many different ways. He had 15 points in the second half alone, a trio of three-pointers that were so big for the Miners in this matchup, and I felt like when this game was really tight, in the second half in particular, it was because of those crucial buckets from Otis Frazier III that the Miners were able to pull away and win this game. Yeah, I mean, look, Otis Frazier does not need to put up a lot of points during games. He does all the dirty work. He's going to play hard on defense. He's going to rebound basketballs. He's going to play extremely tough offensively and just try to move around. He was +4 today in terms of efficiency. He had a pair of turnovers, sure, but definitely want to mention that Otis Frazier III, what a performance by him tonight. Sal, he stuck out to both of us here after this performance and this matchup.
Yeah, and I think a big reason why he stood out is because of the efficiency as well. I think we know he's not afraid to shoot it. He's got a shooter's mentality out there, and that's what you want in an offensive era, so to speak. But the efficiency was there, and everybody being able to feed off of each other's energy. I think those threes that he hit was a product of momentum, and we've seen. I don't want to say ill-advised this time around. We've seen ill-advised shots, but this time around, it was within the rhythm of transition and within the rhythm of the offense. And they went through not only that, but at crucial times, as you mentioned. So a lot of good to take from that tonight.
I think so too, Sal. I think tonight we learned a lot of things about the Miners, right? I mean, they come off the loss against Abilene Christian, and we held them accountable for that loss. That was just this past Sunday. They have a quick turnaround, right? I mean, they basically bus all the way to Abilene Christian, and they bus back to El Paso. Long bus ride home. And it's a quick turnaround for Norfolk State. And it was a sluggish game at first, and the Miners squeezed it out, pull it out in the end, and Joe Golding talked about it pregame and postgame. They expected that. They expected kind of a grinded-out matchup against the Spartans, and that's exactly what they got. Against Wyoming, this is a team that is tops in the country in three-point scoring. They were only 5 of 22 today from the three-point range. And you talk about this team tonight for the Miners and what they were able to do. They forced 16 turnovers against Wyoming. And then not just that, it was the way that the Miners got in their head. The technical fouls, credit to, I think it was Josh Hunt, who was sitting courtside, Miner Collective's own. He got in the head, I think, of, and somebody who probably watched this a lot closer closer could tell me exactly what happened. But I think he got in the head of Sam Griffin for Wyoming, and Sam Griffin actually threw the bird, like a version of the bird at Josh Hunt. And that initiated the technical foul. So I thought that was excellent by the fans there. And then the fans were just into it in the second half, just whether they were barking at their head coach in Linder, whether they were just holding UTEP accountable every time that they went to, on offense and they would go up for a hard play. They would want that foul. They basically, they were barking at the refs the entire game. And those people who might say, Sal, the refs completely favored the Miners tonight. Look at the foul distribution in this one tonight, Sal. Actually, UTEP was called for more fouls than Wyoming. UTEP just went to the line 3 more times or attempted 3 more free throws than the Cowboys in this matchup. So I don't want to hear anything on foul discrepancy when people are talking about this matchup. I just want to hear more about how the Miners locked down defensively, how they did enough offensively in order to win this game. And despite the adversity that this team has faced recently, they pulled out a big win.
Yeah, and they were able to play in unison and cohesive, and that's what people have been wanting. That's kind of been, the mantra all season, is that there's individual talent. Can they play as a group? And tonight they showed that. So for a plethora of reasons, right, there's a lot of things that you can take from this game, but knowing that they were able to play as well as they did, they played together, they played like a UTEP basketball team. I think that's what people should be really happy about, because they heard, and Coach Golding was mentioning it in the postgame show. Hey, not even the team was proud of what they'd done. Obviously, that's the obvious answer, but they made it a focal point to go out there and play as a team. So to see them do it, in theory, like when the stakes are high, you haven't won this tournament in forever. It's the 200th win for Coach Golding. A lot on the line, in season, and they took it serious. Now you want to see them continue this.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the next thing is bringing this in, night out. Wyoming also plays a lot of man, and Norfolk State played a lot of zone last night. So matchup-wise, favored the Miners a little bit more compared to a team who will throw out the zone.
That, and you also pair it with how good of a three-point shooting team that Wyoming is.
Right.
And you're thinking, if it's going to go the way that Wyoming plays, UTEP could shoot themselves out of the gym. But they were in control for a good part of this game and were able to answer the bell a lot of the times.
Hey, our telephone number here on the show tonight, 915-505-6009. We'll get to our player of the game, brought to you by Timothy Cantrell later on in the show. Big shout out to Timothy Cantrell. In fact, if you're looking to buy or sell a home here in El Paso, contact Timothy Cantrell, and you can check him out on Instagram at Timothy Realtor to learn more. We'll get more into Timothy Cantrell later on in the player of the game. Also, our hot hand of the game brought to you by Wind Supply El Paso. And if you're looking for a new furnace, my recommendation, Champion Furnaces from Wind Supply El Paso. We'll talk more about that as well, and that is also the hot hand of the game award that we'll talk about later on in the show. Our telephone number again, 915-505-6009. A lot of posts to get to. I'll read those here in just a second. A lot of messages and reactions coming into the mix as well. And I want to know from Miner fans, are you back in on this team? Is it hard for you to overlook the losses that they've had against Bradley, Loyola, Marymount, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, Oregon, Abilene Christian? Or do you want to believe again, knowing that the Miners right now, I mean, look, they've won back-to-back. They've got Seattle next week, which is not going to be an easy matchup. Seattle beat La Tech recently in an overtime thriller. Actually, that was just last night, by the way, 79-73. That's next Saturday. After that is next Thursday against New Mexico State. Aggies right now, they are 5-8. They've lost 3 of their last 4, but they're still the Aggies, and they're still a team that you got to reckon with anytime the Miners play with them or against them. That one's in Las Cruces, and that's January 4th. And then Sunday, January 7th, they host Chicago State. That's a sandwiched game that will officially wrap up their non-conference play. But, Sal, I look at those 3 matchups. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could see 3 straight wins? 5 straight in a row? Miners do that after losing 5 against Division I opponents consecutively. Could you see it?
You know what? I can understand why somebody would see it, but the realist in me, I can't I can't possibly say that happens. I think they get tripped up against Seattle, and it's to no fault of their own. This is a really good basketball team, Adrian. They have 5 losses on the year, and they're all within striking distance. I'm going to read you the scores. 62-60, lost against Northern Arizona. Against VCU, lost 60-56. Against Utah Valley, 78-72. San Francisco, 3 points, and that's San Francisco, 62-59. And then a 1-point loss in double overtime, just over this past weekend, 100-99. So this is a team that's been in some close games, and in my opinion, I think they're close to figuring it out on how to pull out more than they lose, so to speak. And I say that on a 7-5 team. I think this is going to be one of the better teams when it's all said and done in the WAC. It's no easy game. It's probably one of the tougher non-conference games that they have all year, aside from Oregon.
Yeah, that's a really good point there, Sal. And I think this is one of those quality wins that you can honestly say right there. Let's welcome in Alberto Reta to the show. No UTEP Zay. I have no clue where he's at, but hopefully he's feeling a little bit better. Alberto, this is a win for the Miners. They won a trophy tonight, and it's the first one that they get in 4 years right now, since 2019. So what were your instant takeaways after this win?
Well, there's a few things that jump out at me from the stats, and a few things that jump out at me from the press conference. I think from the stats, the 3 of 5 for the 3-point from Otis Frazier, that's huge. We've been saying all year for the Miners, they just don't have that shooter. He came out and delivered 3 threes. That was phenomenal. I really liked that. That was amazing. The other thing, Zid Powell with 32 points. We hadn't seen a Miner hit that many points. I hadn't seen it happen in a while. And also what he said during the press conference, where he says, "I love to score," and Coach came to me and Tay during the halftime and asked us what we needed to do. That is huge to me. That tells me that the coaches are listening to the players and reaching out to them to see what they see from the court and making adjustments accordingly. Lastly, and one of the things that I really liked was what they said about the trip home from Abilene Christian. I think that after a horrible outing that was Abilene Christian, it's good that they didn't fly home. I'll make the argument that it's good that they took the bus and had more time to really simmer in that loss and the disappointment of it, and the just where they wanted to see the season go. And I'm sure Coach tore into them, and those 6 hours were long. So I'm glad that they reflected, and I like the adjustments we saw, not against the Spartans really, but this game, which was a harder game. So I really like that. They came out looking a lot better than they did. So this is a good stepping stone for the Miners.
Sal, you talk about last night's matchup. The Miners had 11 steals. This one, they get 7. Defensively, they're on right now. They're doing a really good job, and I think that they did a nice job also rattling, Wyoming in the matchup as well. They scored 22 points off those 12 turnovers that I just mentioned.
Yeah, and we mentioned that's kind of when they're at their best, turning their defense into offense, and got to see a lot of good finishes. Everybody played with swag in the fast break. That's number one. They played together, but seeing them finish, and kind of put like the icing on the cake, hammering the nail on the head, so to speak, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
They looked good in transition. So for them to do that and make it easier on themselves in other areas is nice to see, but kind of reflecting to the game against Norfolk State, didn't look like they had any type of consistency when it came to the ball movement. Today they took relatively good care of the ball as well. So all the little things they did right allowed them to play much more efficiently in so many areas.
Yeah, I agree with that, Sal. Here, I'll ask you this. Do you feel better about the loss against Abilene Christian after the win tonight?
Not necessarily.
Really?
And the only reason why is because that game was on the road. I want to see them play like this on the road.
Good point. I have no argument against that.
It's hard to kind of take it away because we've seen the good, we've seen the bad, and we've seen the ugly. Now we know that they could play good, so this is something that fans are going to expect more. But nonetheless, getting some of those monkeys off their backs in this 2-game streak is nice.
Yeah, and another thing, there were a lot of people pressing the panic button early on. I said this, the Abilene Christian loss was maybe the first red flag around this program right now of this season.
Yeah.
The Wyoming game and the Wyoming win, to me, it doesn't make it right, but it makes me accept that this team is not, it's not over. The season season's not over. No one should overreact to this year. It's not going downhill where they're going to completely slide all the way through. Will they have a winning record when it's all said and done? I don't know. Can they get to 20 wins? That's tough as well. But if they hover around like 18 when the season's over, and you're asking me, can they get 2 in the conference tournament, maybe 1 more in a postseason tournament? Maybe so. I think these are all open now, and I think they've been open throughout this point. The Miners just had to kind of prove it to themselves that they could do it. Prove it to themselves they can win back-to-back in consecutive nights. And for this matchup against Wyoming, I really did think that the Cowboys, on paper, came into tonight a better team, and UTEP proved tonight that they were by far the better team, no matter what you might say.
Yeah, and they looked more athletic tonight as well. Just seeing them fly all over the court and disrupt the game and the offensive game plan for Wyoming was good to see. We know that they have the speed to kind of disrupt offenses when it comes to their defense, but we got to see that consistency string along. So it's a good step.
Our telephone number, 915-505-6009. One more thing before we bring on Mike from Austin. I just want to mention this right now. Sal, you know this. I have no more shares of my crypto Kevin Kalu stock, okay? I have none of that, all right? I sold it all last year, maybe the year before. I held on to some shares, but I pretty much sold most of it. The one person, I didn't tell anybody that I bought stock a couple weeks ago. I bought his stock, was Jonathan Dos Anjos. And this is 3 straight games of productive play. Today, Kevin Kalu goes out. He fouls out of the game, back-to-back ticky-tack calls against him. And then Jonathan Dos Anjos had to play in place of Kalu. And it was because Calvin Solomon at the time had 4 fouls as well to his name. So Jonathan Dos Anjos is playing these really important minutes at about the 10-minute mark of the matchup in the second half. And they're like really, really crucial minutes, right? And he's their biggest guy on the floor. Granted, Wyoming was without Mason Walters at that point, who fouled out. He had 16 points to lead the Cowboys. But I also thought that was a real big moment for Jonathan Dos Anjos, not just for his productivity, but his trust with the team. Like, you can now actually maybe trust Jonathan Dos Anjos in longer stretches.
Yeah, I think something, too, that he's really helped out in, looking at the rebounds tonight, he got the same amount, or matter of fact, no, he didn't. He had 1 less than Kalu, but he played half of his minutes, and Solomon only finishing with 1 rebound. So he's showing that he could be reliable down low when it comes to that. But we've seen this defense give up offensive rebounds, in spurts throughout various games. Able to seal the deal when it came to those defensive possessions and series, just getting the board and allowing the Miners to go back on offense. So he's playing meaningful minutes, not turning it over, looking solid, but he's also able to solidify that defensive series when defense is typically the bias of Joe Golding, and respectfully so.
Yeah, and I thought he gave tremendous effort defensively. That's the big thing for Jonathan Dos Anjos. Very impressed with his performance in this matchup. Even got a shout-out in the post-game interviews. Hey, let's go out to the phone lines right now. Let's open them up. 915-505-6009 to get into the program. 600 ESPN El Paso everywhere, and online 600 ESPN El Paso. Let's get things started with Mike from Austin. Mike, good evening, man. What's going on?
Good evening, gentlemen, and first and foremost, Merry Christmas to you and yours. May you have a safe and happy holiday season.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Merry Christmas to you, yours, your family, everybody out there. Merry Christmas to all the listeners. I should have started with that. Come on, it's the West Star Don Haskins Sun Bowl Invitational. It's the holiday tournament, and the Miners just had a trophy. I think I need to be a little bit more jolly here, Mike, so I appreciate that, man. What's going on? What'd you think of this one?
And so, as you all might recall, after the Abilene Christian game, I clearly said that I wasn't pressing the panic button yet. I kind of felt like they were missing a piece. I was kind of hoping that piece was going to be Heb, but it turns out it might be Frazier. I hope it's not, because I hope we don't rely on 3-pointers from Frazier unless he's just shooting unconsciously, and that's the way he's going to play from here on out. So based on that conversation that we had after the Abilene Christian game, what are your thoughts on that? And secondly, great win by the Miners, especially back-to-back. I know that when we talked about it after the Abilene Christian game, that you all were kind of split on maybe 1-1 going into this tournament, and they ended up pulling out the championship. So I'd like to hear what your all's thoughts are on that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate the phone call. For your first point, I think you were kind of asking, who's the third guy who's going to end up stepping up? You know, who's that? I mean, I think it's clear to say right now, it's Tay Hardy, Zid Powell. It's kind of your turn, my turn right now. As far as who leads them in scoring, if people really get fixated on that and see the scoring column, then that can be something that they look at. Calvin Solomon is going to be Calvin Solomon. Although I'll say this, Sal, 4 fouls in under 14 minutes. He's coming off the bench now. This is his third straight game off the bench, something we haven't seen from this coaching staff, trying to mix things up. It's Kevin Kalu who's starting things off, along with Otis Frazier in the front court, going smaller for their starting lineups, but not seeing the minutes count for Calvin Solomon. I don't know, so I don't want to discount him as that third option, because I think by default he really is that option. He just didn't have the minutes tonight to back that up. I don't think their third guy needs to be Otis Frazier either. Now, if you want to talk to me about Baylor Hebb and people like that, I think that's, way out. I think that's maybe a little unrealistic at this point, knowing he's only played 3 games so far in his young minor career so far. It has to be Calvin Solomon, doesn't it? I mean, it can't be Otis Frazier. No, I think that what Mike was saying, if he's shooting unconscious and he's hitting all these threes, that's great. I think Otis Frazier every game does enough winning plays. It could be scoring, it could be grabbing rebounds, it could be playing good defense. He just does enough winning plays in order to put you in a good position. So that's what he brings. He can be your 4th best player, 5th best player, but he's not your top player, although tonight he probably was. But what I'm saying is, I think if you had to think of their third top guy to step up, it's got to be Calvin Solomon, in my opinion. Who would you say?
You know what? I'm a bit torn. And I think it's because they offer different things. How is the game going? How do they want to play? If they want to play quick and fast, I think you go with Frazier. But if they want to, gut it out and play a Golding style game, you got to go with Solomon. So I think you kind of go with the flow on there. As long as you have your 1 and 2 in Powell or Hardy or vice versa, however you want to put it, doesn't matter. As long as those two are on and you can get production from Solomon or Frazier, kind of feel a hot hand. Who is better out there? Who's more efficient at that point in time in the game? And I think that's where you go.
That's a good point there, Sal. Our telephone number, 915-505-6009. Or maybe there's a point to be made that depth is really the third overall person to maybe step up. Maybe you look at your depth, whether it's it kind of mixes game to game, and you, like Sal said, you ride the hot hand, whether it's Otis Frazier, Calvin Solomon, or an unnamed player. So I think it's a really good point there by Mike, just to bring it up. A little bit of questions knowing what Otis Frazier can do on the scoring end, night in, night out. But I'm not too worried about that. I don't care how many points he puts up. I just look at winning plays, and I think he's a winner. I'm so impressed.
Those highlights are nice, man. Yeah,
he killed it tonight. Up and under layup. He's dunking in transition. And then he made a simple layup play in transition as well off a steal. And he's flying in transition. He's just got so much energy. I don't think we talk enough about Otis Frazier III. I really don't. I think he's undervalued on this team, and I'm a big fan of him. Really how he's been stepping up in these past couple games. Our telephone number, 915-505-6009. Mike also talked to us, Sal, that he was not calling us out, but he was just saying, we called the split, right? We said that UTEP would go 1-1 in this. I thought they might even have lost that first game, but credit to the Miners, man, because they played a tough one last night, and then to turn around less than 24 hours to play this matchup and play the way that they did. I mean, that's a credit to them. You got to tip your hats off.
No, they were able to pull it out despite a lot of shortcomings in a lot of areas last night. But all that matters is winning at the end of the day. Doesn't matter how you do it. They were able to parlay that into a respectful win. So yeah, I was wrong. My bad. But that's good though, because you guys are happy that they won.
Right, exactly. Alberto, do you feel a little vindicated knowing that this team played the way that they did against Wyoming?
Yeah, seeing a lot of adjustments from the team, and that's what we wanted, and an improved look from last year, last week.
Yeah, exactly. Even from last night, actually. So, yeah, most definitely. Let's keep things moving. Milkman's next, 915-505-6009. I was wrong as well, Sal, just for the record. We were both wrong. Let's go to Milkman. He's up next on the phone lines. Milkman, good evening, man. What's happening? Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Good evening to y'all, and yes, Merry Christmas to you, and Happy New Year if I don't talk to you. I know they do have that game on the 30th against Seattle.
Breaking news, Milkman, I will not be here for that matchup, so you'll have to hear from either Sal, Zay, Alberto, mixed bag of us, but I'll be back after that, so yeah, definitely. But hey, Happy New Year.
So Happy New Year. So
thanks, man. What do you think of this one?
Well, just real quick on Seattle, never count Seattle out because remember they were the only team to beat the championship team in 66.
Correct. Good point. I like that. Yeah, good historic memory there. Good.
But I was more impressed with them tonight than I have been in a while. They looked a lot better. They were some of the things that had caused them to lose before, like the outside shooting. That kind of thing, they were doing much better at tonight. Powell he was on fire. I mean, that dude was something to watch. Now, see, when they looked really impressive earlier in the year, Powell was doing the kind of stuff he was doing tonight. So I don't know if that's a harbinger of how they play as a team, but the last time I saw Powell look that impressive was way earlier in the season when I was extremely impressed with them. But yeah, I thought their play was really a lot better, and it's certainly not time to press panic as we've seen. So that's good. I think Heb is it Heb?
Yeah,
I think he has brought something to the team. Like, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it seems like they just, I don't know, maybe just have more bodies. But it kind of seems like there's somebody else with some game on the court. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Frazier tonight.
Yeah,
he was looking really good. Holy cow! I mean, that was. If it wasn't for Powell, I would have said, Frazier was the MVP. But holy cow, yeah, they looked really good.
Yeah, I don't know who actually won the overall tournament MVP. You know how they do that, and they also give out a couple different awards. The all tournament team, Zid Powell, Otis Frazier III, and Zid Powell. They were all Zid Powell, Tay Hardy, Otis Frazier III. They were all recognized on the all tournament team. Not sure who won the MVP award, so I'll keep everybody posted once the release comes in or once it comes my way. But I kept saying I kept pounding my fist down saying Otis Frazier deserves the MVP for both nights. I mean, because you think about last night's performance against Norfolk State, we named him the player of the game last night as well with what he was able to do. He led the Miners, in what he was able to do, just kind of an efficiency. He actually had the best offensive rating per KenPom last night in the game. He was 116 by KenPom, which is a really good rating. He was 4 for 5 for all his 2-point shots last night, had 10 points, 3 steals, 4 rebounds, and a couple turnovers, but he swings it over and has a big one tonight. And so I just felt like he should have been the tournament MVP overall. So good stuff, Milkman. It's great to hear from you. And what, Sal, Milkman brought up a really good point. So 2 points. He talked about Baylor Heb and he talked about Zid Powell. So I want to ask you this question. If Zid Powell is not playing the way that the way that he played tonight, which is kind of taking control and doing whatever he could offensively, any shot he wanted, he would make or he would get fouled on. So he had late in the stretch, he could do whatever he wanted. He took over the game. Can UTEP beat quality opponents if Zid Powell doesn't have a game like that?
I don't think so. And we talked about this earlier in the year when we mentioned who's the MVP. It was 3 questions.
Yes,
and I had brought up
who's the best player, most valuable player.
Yeah, and if Powell isn't able to be on fire when it comes to offense, and basically just adding something to the Miners whenever he touches the ball, it's a lot harder to win. Now with Hardy, he can fill in some of the other stats and assist the game, affect the game in various ways. With Powell, he's definitely a offense dominant player, so to speak, and if he's not on, it's going to be a lot tougher. And we've seen it in other games as well. So you want to see if he can keep this going. But another thing, too, though, is it's not really fair just to ask for offense. If you're on the floor for Golding, you got to be able to affect the game in other areas. So we'll see if that can come. But, long story short, yes, he has to be scoring for them to beat some quality teams.
Let's talk about Baylor Heb. The Heb situation's real interesting, too, because he was saying he adds a different dynamic. Well, Heb tonight plays 11 minutes off the bench. He goes 0 for 2 from the field, 0 for 2 from three-point range, but he got fouled a couple times, made 4 for 6 from the charity stripe. He also was pretty aggressive on defense, racked up 4 fouls. He finished the game with an assist as well and a steal on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's too early to make a case whether or not he's making an impact. Is that fair? I mean, I don't want to be dismissive to what he's brought to the team early on. I think he's fresh, and I think that's what he brings immediately, just a fresh new body out there. But I think it's too early to tell if, I mean, somebody can call tonight and say, hey, I'm all in on Baylor Heb. I see it. I see it, and I think he can drop 20 in a game moving forward. I don't think. I think we just have to wait. I just want to see him play more games. That's it.
You know what? I think he's making an impact. I don't know how large somebody would like to say it is, but I know it's a positive impact. He's not turning the ball over. Yes, he had 4 fouls in 12 minutes tonight, but in a game where UTEP was more aggressive on defense, you can live with some of those fouls, knowing that the momentum and the flow of that Wyoming offense was being stopped all over the place. And then when he gets to the line, you want to look for 75% or better. And he was able to just be slightly under that, but still be able to hit more shots than he misses at the free throw line when you need as many points as you can get.
Let's go back to Twitter or X. Cesar Cubillo says this: Zed is not dead. No one under 40 will understand that reference, but Zid Powell had one of the best individual performances I've seen in years. Lots of role players like Jonathan Dos Anjos making plays when they needed to as well. Hopefully this carries into conference play. #MinerTalk. Zed is not dead. You familiar, Sal?
It's from a movie. I'm trying to remember which one. Man,
is this Pulp Fiction?
Yes,
this might be Pulp Fiction.
That's right. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
No, we got that. Come on, Caesar. We're Tarantino guys over here. Hey, King Eric sends us this one over here. Seeing this team live for the first time, they most definitely look better than they did versus Abilene Christian. Only concern I have is I think Elijah Jones doesn't get enough playing time, and they still do a little too much perimeter passing, okay? Tonight, Elijah Jones, we see him tonight. He got the DNP yesterday. We explained that already. Under 6 minutes, he attempted a shot. He had a foul. He had a turnover, and that was it. I mean, that was it. Just under 6 minutes. Didn't play a lot of minutes tonight. David Terrell, by the way, his minutes started to diminish a little bit more, too. So you want to ask, what is Baylor Heb doing? Well, he's kind of taking minutes away from David Terrell Jr. by default, right? He had under 5 minutes tonight. He had a turnover, but he did have a steal defensively, and I actually liked what he was bringing to the team energy-wise in the first half, but didn't really play much in the second half at all. Sal, what we saw tonight for the first time this year is UTEP actually shortening their bench a little bit. Tay Hardy played almost the entire game, 38 minutes. Zid Powell played 34 minutes. You had your 2 alphas playing the most minutes of anybody. But how about Corey Camper getting 30 minutes as well? I think I think you can nitpick his stat line right now, and you could say, 4 points. He had a turnover in this game. He had a foul as well. But on the defensive side, I think that's why you kept Corey Camper in. He had a block, he had 2 steals, and he was +8 in terms of efficiency. Helped them out big time defensively.
Yeah, and just that cohesion among the 3 that you mentioned, all of them getting 31 or more minutes. And it's not so much that Terrell wasn't showing anything or Jones didn't present the best option. It's just those 3 as a trio played in unison so well when it came to the wings. So it's not to take anything away from those other guys.
Joe Chacon chimes in as well. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Great win for the basketball team. Let's go. Hashtag si se puede. Hashtag MinerTalk. Hashtag Sal is my pal. You've officially made it, Sal.
That's right.
You're in every single one. He said hashtag get rid of the dumb fouls. Hashtag Merry Christmas. Hashtag Happy Holidays. Happy Holidays to you too, Joe Chacon. I appreciate that. As we continue, our telephone number again, 915-505-6009. Tristan Pence. Big win for the Miners. Coach Joe Golding really needed this one. It was very important to win the Haskins Invitational. Hopefully this will give UTEP some confidence and momentum heading into 2024. Have a wonderful Christmas, guys. Hashtag MinerTalk. You too, Tristan. You and your wife, hope you guys have a great holidays, and it was great to see you guys there at the Haskins Center tonight. Good stuff. Manny David chimes in. Good win. 2 in a row. Sure, Wyoming isn't a powerhouse team, but hey, the Miners beat a Mountain West team. Keep it going. Hashtag MinerTalk. That's another good point, Sal. A Mountain West win.
Yeah, and able to kind of renew an old rivalry, if you will. A lot of close games, and this one, I know the Miners were able to get a sizable win when it all came down to it, but a lot closer than that 78-67 indicates. But they were able to be in control, and that's impressive. So we'll see if the Miners can go back to where is it, Laramie?
Yes.
Laramie, Wyoming, and have another old whack type game.
Yeah, I like it. Well, in the first half, I thought we were getting that. 20, what was it? 26-25.
Yeah.
Wow. What a load. That was the whack game. That threw it back all the way back.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Yeah, that was insane. Alberto, were you surprised to see the scoring frenzy happen in the second half the way that it happened?
Yeah, I mean, the Miners have been coming out really, really cold in the second half, so I even tweeted it. I was like, man, this is the best start I've seen for the Miners, arguably, all season. And, just kind of feeding off of what you guys were saying about Heb is yeah, he's not on fire right now. He's not coming out, shooting lights out from the three or anything. But, look, he went 4 of 4 from the free yesterday, and he went 4 of 6 from the free throw today. So, to me, he adds, some a little bit better shooting. And you know what? Just a little confidence to this Miner team, because I'll remind you guys, these guys, the whole Miner squad was saying free Heb, free Baylor Heb, free Heb. So now it's just kind of a thing where it's like, look, man, you got Heb now, so go out there and make it happen. You got everyone you wanted.
Good point.
You got no excuses now, so let's see this team come together, and that's kind of, I think, what we're seeing. It's just taking a little longer than we expected.
Well, and also you want your team to have some cohesion going into conference play too. So let's not talk any chemistry, I guess, excuses. It's more of an accountability factor of, hey, they've got to be ready come that conference play time, which is right around the corner at this point. At this point, you kind of know UTEP. You kind of know what they're going to bring, right? You kind of now understand what this team is. There are still some surprises, but at their best, well, it's kind of like tonight's matchup. They were at their best, and they were able to win in this one by 9 points against a Wyoming team that came into this matchup with some pedigree, came into this matchup with a little bit of moxie and thinking that they could come in and just demolish the Miners. But yeah, Miners were able to pull one out, and it's a quality win. Win number 200 for Joe Golding. First time his programs have won the West Star Don Haskins Sun Bowl Invitational, and for that, we continue here on MinerTalk. Our telephone number again, 915-505-6009. If you want to weigh in, 600 ESPN El Paso on X. And Adrian sends us this one on Twitter. He says, now that UTEP is back on track, is 20 wins still realistic? What do you say, Sal?
Let me see. Are we going to count those first, what is it, the first
Yeah, let's just count them, right? Let's just count them, right? I mean,
so we'll be generous.
At the end of the year, they're going to count it as well, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Basically, can they win 13 out of their next, is it 13 or no?
12, yeah.
12, all right. So I'll mention these teams. Let me know if you think it can happen. New Mexico,
oh, wow, we're reeling this off. Okay.
Let's do it. 2 against State. I think they split. So that's New Mexico State to be exact. So that would make
one win. Let's just count wins.
All right, Chicago State.
Okay, I'm going back to Seattle super quick. I'm going to say win.
Oh, my bad.
No worries.
Okay.
So I'm going to go win there. I agree with you. Split with New Mexico State.
Okay.
So that's 2 wins there. Chicago State, that's 3.
3, yep.
Okay.
FIU.
Win. That's 4.
Middle Tennessee. Matter of fact, FIU 2 wins or 1 win?
I'm going to say 2 wins. I think they win 2.
So where are we at now?
I'm at 5.
5, okay. Middle Tennessee.
Split, so 6.
6. Western Kentucky.
Split, so 7.
La Tech.
Man. Yeah, let's say split. 8.
Wow. Here we go.
I know.
Sam Houston. I think they sweep.
I think they sweep too. That's
Okay.
10.
Jacksonville State.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
right.
a sweep. That's a
All right.
sweep. That's
So-
12.
That's 12. All right. So,
But you have to factor in the bad road loss, right?
Yeah.
Let's peel it back a second. I think it's going to come down to the Liberty series, right? If they can split that one, they might be able to get to maybe right around that 20-win mark. Maybe.
I think over under at 19.5. I'm gonna go under, but right at 19.
Yeah, and I think
Just
actually,
off of what we've seen.
And actually, I don't think that's a bad thing. If they go I think if they go anywhere from between 17 and 19 wins, they can get a win in the conference tournament. That's the standard I'll hold them to as well. So to answer your question, at enemy win number 3, my friend Adrian, maybe. I think it is a possibility, maybe so, that they could actually get to that 20-win threshold, and you can't count out that conference tournament where they can also get some wins
very true.
there as well. Eddie Morelos checks in saying the Miners win, and I got to meet Pinky. What a way to wrap up the week. Hashtag MinerTalk. Alberto, you got to meet Pinky as well.
Yeah, it's not even my first time meeting him. I've met him a couple of times. He's an avid listener to the show. Every time I get the chance, I go out and talk to him. I really enjoy it. I don't pass up on that opportunity.
Hey, he sent us this picture, and then he said, proud to post this picture. I'm not laughing at him. I'm just laughing at the fact that he's getting Zid Powell with his trophy that he's flexing, and Tay Hardy, who's just got his meal. So good stuff there, Pinky. He sent us that on Twitter or X. My name is Jeff. It's always great to hear from him, at the Big Bacon. The Miners win on the Haskins Championship. Miner blood, I proud. Golden Boy, I proud of you, Papa. Charlie Clark, Nissan, Pow Pow. Man, Sal, Jeff is on one tonight. Hopefully he's having a great Christmas.
I think he loves when the Miners win. So
there you go.
Can't blame him.
Cesar Cubillos, when I think of Seattle, I think of the player that they had around 15 years ago named Austin Power. Powell was an MVP. I believe Hardy won the Haskins Award and Frazier won the All-Tournament team. Possibly the other way around. I was still working. Hashtag yeah, baby. I was right there, Caesar. And I didn't even know. I couldn't hear it from the PA and everybody talking around me. So I was right there, probably where you were. And I don't know where they went. If Powell was named MVP, that's great for him. And, I guess deservingly so. But it's probably off just the one game. Alberto, you have the MVPs?
Yeah, so Zid Powell, he did get the MVP. And I'm reading here off of the picture I took of Tay Hardy's award, and it says Don Haskins Award.
Okay. So
yeah.
Tay Hardy was awarded the Don Haskins Award. Okay, so that would just make Otis Frazier on the all-tournament team. Okay, so I was probably the only one. Me and everybody around me who I influenced to vote for Otis Frazier, we were probably the only ones who did it. So shame on the media. I'm blaming the media there. So come on, man. Why couldn't he get one of those awards, man? Why am I caught up in this one here, Sal? We talked about this before. Hey, this team actually, somebody told me in the media scrum. I'll give her a shout out. It's Rachel Phillips. She said this. She was like, "Why didn't they celebrate a little bit more? It was kind of a subdued celebration. Where do you stand celebrating for the Westar Don Haskins Sun Bowl Invitational?"
I think because you got a lot more basketball to play. It's a good step in the right direction. You're finally turning a corner. But you don't stop there. I think that's why. I think they got to have that, hey, job's not finished type of mentality. Congratulations, but next one up is a big one against Seattle. So you can enjoy it, but you don't got to treat it like it's the Conference USA Championship.
No, you can't. You can't. You honestly have to think of it like, hey, this is the get right game, right? And, this is kind of one of those that they owed to the fans in a sense where you promised the fans a lot early on. And with the victory they had against UC Santa Barbara, I think it led fans to believe that this team could be special. And I think that fans were out as soon as they lost 5 straight to Division I opponents. And so now fans are in an interesting spot. Some are back in, some never left. Like Joe Ciccone said, back in. I never left. I've always been here. We win a national championship every year. In my mind, I can be realistic and know when it's over, but it's not. Hashtag glass is always half full. Hashtag loaded question for a true Miner fan. Hashtag win and get the next one. Hashtag MinerTalk. So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be those people who are going to be the ride or die no matter what. There's some who are still skeptical on this team, and there's some who are cautiously optimistic. So I think that's kind of how you would break it down between the Miner listening audience, at least as of right now. Hey, Sal, let's do this. Let's take a break right now. When we come back, let's talk more on MinerTalk. We'll also hand out some awards here later on in the show. Our hot hand of the game, thanks to Win Supply El Paso, and our player of the game, brought to you by Timothy Cantrell. We are heading toward, I guess, the finish line here on the show. If you want to duck in a late call, now's the time to do it. 915-505-6009. We're talking UTEP hoops tonight after they win the West Star Don Haskins Sun Bowl Invitational Championship. More in a moment right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Yamamoto's going to be a Dodger, Sal. 12 years, $325 million as we welcome you back to MinerTalk, huh?
MinerTalk brought to you by the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Hey, they can afford it, right? They can afford Shohei Ohtani. They're only paying him $2 million a year.
It's not bad.
Paying Yamamoto $325 over 12 years, pushing their free agent spending to over $1 billion. Man. Okay, let's keep
insane.
it. Yeah, let's swing it.
It's hard to wrap my brain around that. But,
me too. I love the no salary cap. That's crazy. Let's do it in football. Let's make like Patrick Mahomes on one team, and he could have Tyreek Hill again, and let's do it again.
We do have it in football. It's called NIL, and
yeah, it's called NIL. It's Alabama, and it's the Texas Longhorns. That's a good point, Sal.
We got Bobby Bonilla Day. We got Jimbo Fisher Day.
There you go. There you go. Now we got that done, and the Tom Herman Day. Oh, and what about Charlie Strong Day too? So, yeah, there you go. Hey, our telephone number here on the program, 915-505-6009. If you want to duck in a late call, now's the time to do it. I get it. There wasn't a lot of people out at the Haskins Center tonight, 4,310. Holiday season for a lot of people. They're at home. They're with family who are coming in from out of town. And I think it'll take, some time for everybody to kind of regroup on this basketball squad and get ready for the next year. I think the big next game, the next big game, will be their home matchup against Western Kentucky Saturday, January 20th. I think that's the one to circle next if you're really wanting to look ahead. Of course, you're going to look ahead to the road game against New Mexico State. They've got to prove it to not just their fans, but almost to themselves that they can start winning some of these road games, Sal. I think that's why that one is very important in the near future. Western Kentucky, a couple weeks down the line in January, should be a great matchup for the Miners to see where they're at in the conference. And so, yeah, just some interesting matchups ahead for UTEP.
Yeah, and a lot of big opportunities as well. The next thing is, can they do it on the road? And yeah, they have some games sandwiched in between then, but it's a big opportunity against a New Mexico State team. Let's be honest, they're down this year. They're not as
I agree.
They're not as solid as they've been. Obvious reasons, right? But the opportunity is right in front of them to kind of right those wrongs in a way and get it done on the road. So you mentioned it. There's a lot of big tests. And another thing, too, Adrian, is we were reeling down, some of the conference games. Can they get 20 wins or not, whatever the case is. They'll get Liberty twice. We forgot about that one, and that's going to be another good test. And let's say they are, rolling it along and going in the right direction. They're going to have some decent opportunities to showcase it, not just to the fans, but Conference USA as well, because it's still up for grabs for anybody. If you can click at the right time, you give yourself a chance, to be in the discussion.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. You just want to have that, be in that conversation, and also hold a bigger seat at the table than they have or they did last year. That's another thing. I mean, Sal, last season, it was a struggle to get to the finish line, and I think that for this year's team, they're proving that they're going to hang in the season throughout the year. Like, they're going to be in it throughout the entire season, and I think fans were a little worried and concerned whether or not that would be the case.
Yeah, and there's always been that saying, right? If the defense is clicking and the defense is on, they'll always have a chance. And if they can be in that realm and have somebody, hit a couple shots and change the momentum, that could be huge. We've seen them do that, under Golding before. Obviously, it's a different team this year, but that defense, man, if it's clicking and it's reliable, I like where this team can go.
Hey, again, our telephone number, 915-505-6009. Awards coming up next. Let's do a quick alumni corner for UTEP basketball.
Wow.
Here's what happened earlier tonight with the Ontario Clippers.
Pushed out, Giroux claims it, then lost it. Moon, what a find! Williams with the throwdown!
That's Bryson Williams. Can't take Bryson Williams for granted. He is currently playing in the G League right now, one of the former Miners who's doing this with the Clippers organization. Sal, I'll reel off some other pro basketball players right now. I think you're going to like this, okay? Sule Boom playing in the G League right now with the Grand Rapids Gold. How about that? Our guy Sule Boom on a roster right now, and that's under the Denver Nuggets organization.
Yeah, a guy who obviously relayed what he did at UTEP, to success elsewhere. And another thing, while we're on the topic of Sule Boom, the last Miner who got 30 before Zid Powell tonight as well, so that's something to be mentioned. And right before that was Eric Bieniemy, and right before that, the guy's clip you just played right now, no pun intended on the clip, but Bryson Williams. So just wanted to throw that in.
Man, a little Jamal Bieniemy mention, a little Bryson Williams mention. I think it's pretty solid there, Sal. Let's go to another name. This is going to be out of left field, okay? Who's also in the G League right now? You ready for this?
Do it.
Evan Gilliard. Playing for the Windy City Bulls right now. How about that?
Nice. And is he from Chicago as well?
Yes, there you go. Great tie right there, Sal. And so Evan Gilliard, Sule Boom, like I just mentioned, Bryson Williams, and then Julian Washburn. He's still playing in the G League right now. He's actually in the Spurs organization. He's been in and out of the G League for a while now, and credit to Julian Washburn, always staying ready, always active, 6'8" shooting guard for the Miners. He's 32 years old, played with the Grizzlies in the 2018-2019 season, so that was his only time in the actual NBA, but he's played in Summer League teams. He's played with San Antonio, the Clippers, Golden State in the past. He's even played with the likes of, actually, he even played, it looks like with the, let me see this. Oh, it actually looks like he played with the Spurs at one point, too. So really cool with Julian Washburn, also still in the G League at age 32 there, Sal.
Yeah, he's had a lot of pro basketball under his belt. A guy who really went through the fire just to land at UTEP and, to see him relay what he did, in college over to be a professional basketball player and really a veteran, kind of adding that presence, no matter where he's been. I always think about the brotherly duo when his brother was here as well, and they had some fun in a Miner basketball uniform. But yeah, man, Washburn, one of the more Swiss Army knife type of players that UTEP basketball has had. Great to see him have such a long professional career.
There are several Miners who are currently averaging 10 or more points internationally in basketball right now. I'll reel them off, okay? Vince Hunter, who is playing in the VTB United League for St. Petersburg, okay? Titus Verhoeven, who is playing in the Portuguese LPB League for SC Lusitania. There's also Lee Moore, who's playing in the BNXT League right now. In the Serbian League, Vuk Vuličić. There you go. There's a name you haven't heard in a while. Terry Wynn, who is playing in the Lebanese Division A League. He is averaging over 10 points a game. Isaiah Osborne this year from the Estonian Latvian Basketball League is averaging 14.5 points per game as well. Dominic Artis in the Turkish BSL league right now. He's averaging 15.9 points per game. Okay, Sal, I'm going to ask you this. Between Shamar Givens and FEODG, who do you think is averaging more points? FEODG in the Portuguese LPB League and Shamar Givens in the Slovakian Extraliga League.
Give me Effie.
Shamar Givens is averaging 17 a game,
Wow.
and FEOGG 16.7 a match.
All right, I'll live with that because it's not that far off.
It's the same thing, basically. So they're averaging both 17 a game, but it's good to see these former Miners play, and it's cool to hear some of these guys who are still playing professionally. Always good to do a check-in, too, because this changes all the time. A name I didn't mention, but he is playing overseas right now, Randy Culpepper. He is still doing it. He's still doing it. That's all the credit to Randy Culpepper and everything that he's been able to do. He's actually playing in Egypt right now, 34 years old. So big shout out to him. Other Miners who are playing, Arnett Moultrie, if you believe that right there, 33 years old. He's playing right now. Still, he's actually in the, let me get this right, with somebody like him. He's actually in the Chinese CBA League. So there you go for Arnett Moultrie. Eric Villa is still playing in the Spanish ACB League for Girona. He actually won a world championship with them, or I guess a Spanish ACB championship with them. Trey Wade is in the Polish OBL League. And then Christian Scholin, how about that? He's in the German Pro A League right now. So there you go. There's all your former Miners who are currently playing basketball either in the States or overseas. Let's go back to the phone lines right now, 915-505-6009. One of the guys who was instrumental in putting everything together for the Westar Don Haskins Sun Bowl Invitational is our pal Eddie Morelos, who is joining us next. Eddie, thank you so much for joining us, my man. What's going on?
I'm right here back in Cruces. I'm waiting for my food, but I just want to say thank you for your all support, 600 ESPN, for supporting the Westar Don Haskins Sun Bowl Invitational. Let me just say this, Adrian, it was cool. I was out program hockey, giving out the tournament programs, and it was really cool to see and sense the vibe in the Don Haskins Center of the UTEP Miner fans there, especially there at the end, towards the end of the game. It was just a really neat environment, a really good feeling within the arena, and of course, that's what we all want is wins like that. You know what I mean? And it just becomes more enjoyable. And the best post game talk show in all of the land is even better when the Miners win.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. Hey, I love the vibe, too. I thought it was a great atmosphere. The atmosphere, I get it. It didn't have over 6,000 there at the Haskins Center. But what you could say, Eddie, is it's kind of the holiday feel, right? It's people from out of town, people who are coming and have ties to this program, ties to the city of El Paso. And for some people, it might be the first time they're getting a chance to watch the Miners this season.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you hit it right on the point. Right on the point. It's like a holiday vibe, right? Everybody's in good spirits, and everybody's excited for all the things surrounding the Westar Don Haskins Sun Bowl Invitational, which includes leading up to next week. A big time next week. We got a big game coming up, and so it's just really grateful for y'all's support. I just want to say that, and especially Steve Kaplowitz, he did the play-by-play for the TV broadcast, and he did a spectacular job. Great job, Steve.
He really did. And, hey, Eddie, I appreciate the phone call, man. Thanks for weighing in. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Steve killed it yesterday with Leonard Owens, and tonight I got a chance to see bits and pieces of it as I was there in person. And so, production crew, fantastic. Steve did a great job along with Leonard. And, it's going to be great to hear both their reactions after this tournament wraps up. And we'll get a chance to hear from Steve specifically tomorrow, so on Sports Talk. Our telephone number again, 915-505-6009 if you'd like to weigh in. 600 ESPN El Paso. That is 600 ESPN El Paso everywhere on social media and online, 600ESPNElPaso.com. Let's continue here on the program. This coming in from Joe Chacon. What happened to Derek Hamilton? The way that I would say what happened, the way I would answer that, Joe, is just, look, minutes are hard to come by now. They're going to have to really shorten up their bench. So if those minutes go to Elijah Jones and it's only 5 minutes, it's going to go to Elijah Jones. If it's Derek Hamilton, it's just going to be those 5 minutes. But Alberto, that's the bottom line. They're shortening their bench, and they're giving more minutes to the guys who they feel like they can trust late in these games, or deep in these games, I should say, with 3 guys tonight getting over 30 minutes and even Otis Frazier getting up to almost 27 minutes in this one.
Yeah, I mean, with the really stale offensive looks that we've seen in the past from the Miners, it looks like they're riding their hot hands and just kind of letting the other guys sit on the bench until they get hot. So that's what I'm expecting going forward. I don't expect to see the ball sticking like we did in the beginning of the season. I expect to see a lot more movement, and like Zid said in the post-game conference, like they're going to give him the rock and let him go score.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they'll ride the hot hand when they want to, and they'll ride the hot hand when they deserve that. So most definitely. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to Miner Talk, brought to you by the Oscar Arieta Agency. More in less than 10 seconds here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Let's do some awards here on the program, and then we're going to wrap things up and kind of look to next week ahead with Seattle on the docket for this UTEP basketball squad. Tonight in the hot hand category, it's got to go to none other than Zid Powell. When they needed the hot hand late in this one, they trusted Zid Powell in a big way, just like you should trust Champion Furnaces if you're looking to purchase one here during the winter. That is thanks to our great friends out at Wind Supply El Paso. But in all seriousness, Zid Powell with 38 minutes in this game, 32 points. He went 14 of 18 from the free throw line, got everything he wanted from the charity stripe, 6 rebounds tonight. He did total 4 fouls in this one, but he had 12 fouls that were drawn on him. That's pretty impressive in itself. 4 assists, 3 turnovers, 1 steal with plus 15 in terms of efficiency and plus minus. Zid Powell winning the hot hand of the game, brought to you by our great friends at Wind Supply El Paso. Check out windsupplyelpaso.com, and of course, check out the Find a Dealer tab online, windsupplyelpaso.com, and you can check out those Champion Furnaces that I just mentioned. Sal, you good with that? With hot hand for Zid Powell right there?
Yeah, I think especially the final 10 minutes or so. I mean, pretty much the second half was his, but you know whose game it was. As time was winding down, when he got the ball, it was kind of like, get out the way. Whether you're his teammate or if you're a defender, he's just going to make you look silly. So no, I think that's the right choice.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's probably the man for this one. So yeah, let's stick with him. Zid Powell, hot hand of the game. Next up, let's go to our player of the game, and this is brought to you by Timothy Cantrell. By the way, if you are looking to buy or sell your home here in the beautiful city of El Paso, contact Timothy Cantrell today. I'll give you his phone number in just a second, but before we do that, let's award it to the man himself. He is not Zid Powell. It's Otis Frazier III. He's going to win this one. I alluded to it earlier. Thought he was the most impactful player when this one really, really was hanging in the balance. I looked at the stat real quick from KenPom offensive rating. He had the highest offensive rating of the team for anybody who played more than 15 minutes. 140 was his offensive rating, number based on KenPom. I told you how he led the team yesterday in offensive rating as well. Well, he did it again tonight. 15 total points. He had 3 3-pointers in this matchup, and he had 2 turnovers, but he also contributed with 3 rebounds in this matchup. Otis Frazier III winning our Player of the Night award, and again, that's brought to you by Timothy Cantrell. If you want to give him a call, if you've got a home that you're looking to sell, if you have a house that he is actually selling thanks to his great social media account, Timothy Cantrell Realtor on Facebook and Instagram, give him a call, 915-204-8441. That's Timothy Cantrell at 915-204-8441. Sal, you good with Otis Frazier as the player of the game?
Yeah, I definitely am. I think just in terms of the overall game, when it comes to momentum, also, the downtown performance, so to speak, being able to get those threes when they needed them, at crucial times, showing that he's reliable on offense, for sure.
Okay, all right. I think that's how we're going to.
There's a lot we could say, but we'll condense it.
I think that's how we can wind things up here with our awards, though. I think that's a perfect way to end it. Let's give special thanks to all our listeners. It's the Christmas season, the holiday season here, and New Year's is right around the corner as well. Special thanks to all our listeners here on Miner Talk. We've been we've had a great year. It's been great with all the football coverage that we've had. Both the ups and the downs, and a lot of downs this past season. The basketball season, which has been off to an interesting start. No doubt about it, but it's because of our listeners and because of all the people who join us out at the district, who hang out with us and talk to us at the games, and who chat with us here on Miner Talk to make this possible. So really appreciate them, and just want to say Merry Christmas to all the listeners out there right now. Alberto, I'll swing it to you. You give us some final thoughts going into Seattle's matchup. That's the game on the docket next week. How do the Miners maintain motivation, not get too high off this win right here?
Well, just remember the adversity that they've faced so far and some of the ugly losses and how those have felt. I think that the way they've looked offensively just troubles us all. So I think they should remember that, watch a lot of film, stay committed to the process that is, this long season, because things can change and you don't want to lose focus. I think that's one thing we want to see, we all want to see, is a focused team, a team that's playing better cohesive, better offensively, more cohesive, everything. We just want them to keep their head up and play good basketball the entire way. The season's still only about halfway done.
Okay. All right. Sal, as you turn the page, look over to Seattle, what are some of the things you want to see UTEP continue to do here ahead of Seattle?
I want to see if they do have a lead, if they can not relinquish it as easily as they normally do.
Good point.
And, continue to be aggressive and efficient when it comes to the fast break. That's going to be when they're at their best. So if they can play good fast break basketball in back-to-back games, that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's another step in the right direction, I should say.
Good point there, Sal. Hey, again, special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oscar Arieta. They are the official insurance agent of the UTEP Miners, and for all your home, your auto, your life, or even your business commercial insurance needs, trust the experts at the Oscar Arieta Agency. Give them a call if you have any questions about your insurance policy. 915-400-6000. I know rates are going up across the board. Maybe the Oscar Arieta Agency could help run you a policy quote and maybe save you some money on bundling your home and your auto insurance. That number again, 915-400-6000. For Sal Montes, for Alberto Reta, I'm Adrian Broadus. We're signing off tonight and saying so long, and thanks for listening to Miner Talk here on 600 ESPN El Paso.